Good morning. Got a little bit of a late start. Anyway, so interesting move here so far. And today I think it's going to be the moment of truth because it's either ready to hit the void above or this is going to top out and we're going to see a reversal up here. So far, see the NQs here have formed a little trading range, right? So last week down here, we got the bottom, the W that we spoke about, another pre-market potentially setting up. I wrote about that in the letter. And so now that has moved up and it's up at this resistance area. And, what we spoke about was this is where yesterday and then the letter, this is where the heavy lifting begins because, you get this move down, you get the sell set up and then it breaks the low and you get the new low reversal pattern and, it goes back up, gets through this resistance, gets back up to the top of the range. And now this is the tough spot where, sellers, you want to short it, this is the spot to do it. And, getting above here gets into the void. So now, as I said, moment of truth. What is it going to do? We're going to find out shortly. But obviously you can see that there's some sellers have already showed up. It's in an uptrend here. So we've got an uptrend within a overall sideways trading range. So, say buy the bottom of the range, sell the top of the range. And then we'll see what happens from there. If it goes sideways and it holds, say, this pivot low here, well, that's showing some strength. It's a rather relatively deep retracement, but overall, it's not so bad if it can stay up in this area. And let's go to the daily chart here. So a little bit of a range expansion yesterday. But the move up just hit the ceiling, got knocked back down. So far, no big deal. We're waiting to see. This bar on the weekly chart is not done, but historically, this is where if it closes green, historically, this pattern is where green turns to red. And so even though we've got this little reversal, if it closes that way on Friday, having moved up as far as it has and then getting the reversal, just, I don't know what's going to happen. None of us do, but historically that is a high probability setup that it then goes down to the next level where more buyers will show up because it's a deeper retracement. The market's been strong. The weekly is still in an uptrend, and it just makes sense that more individuals, funds, whatever, would be much more aggressive buying that deeper pullback within this strong move. Really just common sense. Now, the other scenario could possibly be that it goes up here, and I don't prefer it because it's less desirable long term than the pullback one where it does pull back and, end of year rally, you get a nice pullback and you get a deeper move up from there. Whereas if it goes up and the potential for an M top, less desirable for me. Anyway, if it can get through here short term, we're going long. And that's the bottom line. If it hangs around here for a day or two and gets through here, you have to be in there with a long bias. We'll just, we'll see what plays out. Right now, top of the range, bottom of the range, likely to get choppy for a little bit here. All right. So up at the top here, there's going to be sellers. Let's look at where the spiders are. When you get to SPX, came up to 343-ish, let's call it. All right. So basically got up to Thursday's high thereabouts. And now it's pulling back a little bit. Bottom of the range, top of the range. You see the hourly chart right there. And sometimes I say that's where the heavy lifting begins, which means it's stiffer resistance. When we did the coaching last night, I was talking about what would be ideal would be for it to be gapping up above here and then maybe 30-minute high and off to the races. So if by chance it gets back up here in the first 30 minutes and hangs around, well, again, the same thing. We would be thinking long because it's had a couple of days of choppy action there. But we'll see, as we always do. We just know that it's up at resistance here. And that's yesterday. We had that little short late in the day, waiting for it to see what was going to happen here as it started to roll over on the 5-minute chart. I'll scroll it back here. That's where we had this nice little short in the S&Ps. Looking for some professional. Mr. Blue Chips is asking me, looking for some professional opinions on the market direction. That's what we do every day here, Mr. Blue Chips. That's what we're doing. And, come into the green room and we do an intraday. But right now, the market direction is a big break. There was a big break, which now put the trend to sideways versus up. And we're waiting to see whether it could repair the damage and move back up, or whether this turns into just a consolidation before the next leg down. That's the short answer to what's going on here. We don't know yet whether it'll move up or whether it's going to, this is just a little bit of a resting period before the next leg down to what we would expect to be a measured move. Right? So that's your 10% area. And this drop here, a measured move, if you extended it down here, would get it down to in the area of around the 200-day moving average, give or take. And that lined up with the support right there. So SPX levels, how far can we get above the danger area? So what do we got here? 3360 by 3350. Down there. I don't know about that. I have to see what's going on, as always. Top of the range, the downside here seems a little less enticing to me. 3345 is better. So look, you've got two reference points of some protection. Right? Yesterday's low, which isn't going to be much, and if we start getting some weakness, and then this pivot low down here below 3380. So 3345 gives you quite a bit of leeway to be okay. And I think that makes sense. And then you've also got the unfilled gap over here at 3350, and you're below that. So I like 3345, and up above 3450, at least 50 to 60. So that would be okay. So again, as always, we'll see what kind of reactions there are in the first few minutes. And then, of course, looking at if there's something at 3470 by 3480, that would be fine too. Again, it's all about getting away from taking the heat, and then just where's support, where's resistance. Is the market's in an uptrend, a downtrend? In this case, they're in a sideways trend versus in a sideways trend, but after a nasty down move. So there you go. All right. Mish is asking, what's the difference between a 1-2-3 pattern and a red bar ignored? Mish, come and take a trial to the green room, and now is not the time for me to give reviews on patterns. Take a trial, $7. Stay a week. I'll explain a whole lot of patterns to you. You can ask all the questions you want. So, all right. YM. The same story. Top of the range. Was at the bottom of the range, top of the range. If it goes sideways here today, there's the Fed things, whatever news, If it goes sideways here today, of course, it begins to build what could possibly be a topping pattern and it could drop, but also could be a resting period where it's absorbing the supply and then the breakout happens. So, we can assume that because it's at resistance, the sellers are up there and it'll drop, and it might. But in the end, we have to wait for some confirmation. And right now, it's just going sideways. So you're either scalping here or you're just sitting on your hands. When I say scalping, there's people out there trading on these little micro time frames where, myself, I would be sitting through some of their, little micro ups and downs. It's just not for me. Looking for bigger moves, like what was yesterday in the S&Ps, where we shorted that, in the late part of the day there. And, some people are trading this on the long side and, whatever, back and forth. It's that's like ditch digging to me. I'm not saying it can't be done, but, it's a lot of pressing buttons. And anyway, so little topping pattern here starting to roll over on the 5-minute, which you can see the 60 trying to pull back, which should produce a buy setup since this is in an uptrend. So it might be a little touch and go there at the beginning. Oliver, is this a head and shoulders pattern on the 5-minute? Yeah, sure it is. So look, when we talk about patterns, right, it's one concept, meaning what is this pattern within the connection to a higher time frame. So as I look at this pattern, I say, oh, the daily's up at resistance. The 60-minute is losing momentum, but it's in an uptrend. Will this collapse? Not likely. But for a short-term trade down to support, it's doable. All right, here's your sell setup right there. This is going to bring in buyers at some point. And until this actually fails, right, where buyers show up at, say, that minor support level, which isn't too far away, or it comes down here, and then the hourly then begins to roll over, and these two time frames are then in alignment with each other, where this time frame and that time frame are both pointing down, and this is now beginning to come down to the bottom of the range, you're going to then get some big intraday trades. So a lot of this is common sense once you know it. But you know me, I'm going to plug it. Those of you that got the indicators on the bottom of the chart, it's not common sense because you're looking at other places than where reality is. So once you get the indicators off the chart, things start to make some sense. Right? You got to decide that for yourself. Let's continue so the fan can get on here. Russell, right, top of the range, same old story here, same pattern. Ain't no sense in going over it again. Bonds have been in a sideways range here, just chopping back and forth. So it's established a low here with a pivot, retested, next pivot, but it's still got the top of the range isn't that far away. And the weekly has had this down move, so I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere. For me, it's stay away. Crude oil. When I saw this yesterday, it was poking up, and I said, I was actually here. It was poking up. I said, well, my commentary yesterday pre-market was if it can clear these highs and turn into a topping tail, I would go for that as a short. Well, that didn't happen. It actually held on. And that's what makes these nasty breaks to the downside. Everybody gets excited and think, oh, it's going to keep going down. And they go to short it, and then it's right back in their face. This is a dangerous one to be short, even though it's had this nasty break. So this has to produce another pattern, which it hasn't done yet. Right now, longs have control on the intraday time frame. Why doesn't OIH track CL? I don't know, Debbie. I've been asking that since a year ago. You would think they would have a closer correlation to the price of crude oil, but they just don't. So, And, those stocks have just been weak for so long, and maybe that has something to do, you know, from a longer term point of view with electric cars and solar. I don't know, but solar has been doing amazing this year. It had a bit of a pullback, but, with solar doing so well and Tesla doing so well, maybe it has something to do with, hey, what are these, refiners going to be doing? Batteries don't come out of the ground. So I don't know. I'm thinking, along those lines. Yeah, and no one driving. Because of Corona, there's a lot more cars on the road. So definitely things are changing. Yeah. What's that about market internals? Let's look at them quick and let me get Dan on here. So breath has come up to the 0 level. Right? This was excellent breath the other day on this move, but it didn't get through resistance. So it's kind of shooting a lot of bullets. And so as it's come up to the top of the range, the wrong way option traders have upped their bets the last couple of days, right at the top of the trading range. And breadth is up at 0. This is up at the top of the range, this little range here. It's right at the point where it could and maybe should turn back down. It's lined up that way, but look, we don't trade these internals. They give us guides as to what our bias is, and so it does support that this could fail here. So we'll see. We'll see where today ends. All right. Oil's up. Gold is up here. You can see nicely coming up to the top of the range. Silver. I kind of like this pattern. I like the daily. I don't really like the intraday. It's kind of sloppy there. Needs some more work. And lastly, the transports have been holding up here, kind of just hanging. They're up at the top of the range here. So today is going to be what I put there in YouTube. Going to be a moment of truth. And it might be a little bit of a boring day while we wait for the truth to appear. I'll just keep that in mind. All right, all yours, Dan.
Hey, I wouldn't call it boring with 0 DTE day and Fed announcement day.
Light it up.
2 o'clock, so we got to keep that in mind. Light it up. All right, all our opens are doing great. We're very bullish. We got a ton of put spreads that expired Friday. Got a bunch of directionals. I gave a couple new ideas. Okay, toss. That was one of the trades I gave pre-market. I like it. So I had to, if we bought it 2 days ago, I would call it a wide range breakout. But what I have to call it now is a continuation. And that's exactly what I did, because we're missing the ideal entry. But I like the big bottoming tail, and so you can buy the high, stop the low. Let's go right to gappers. AMCX 2450. It's a bullish gap over this red bar. Folks, today I'm telling you, our MT live, it's going to be on failed patterns. It's going to be one of those monumental changing events if you listen to it and digest it. So I strongly urge you not to miss it or watch the recording over and over again, because we trade these every single day. So this communicated lower prices, right? It was a bullish bar and a downtrend, 180 reversal, but bearish weekly, and now it's gapping up to 24.45. So that doesn't mean it's a new opportunity, but if you were short down here, you got a wake up call right here. What the heck are you going to do? Well, you got to notice that it's failing, and take precautions to protect your losses. Yeah, that's in my gap list. So this one I just saw going by the ticker. It looks fantastic. Here's a gap breakout way back here in August. And now 50% retracement, trading range. And now it looks great. So I put that in a window and see how it sets up. I got it on my other computer. Yes, Snow. No, Snow is a new ticker coming out today, IPO. Facebook short, there's no pattern. Well, let's see, 267. I mean, so it's a bearish gap, but no pattern, but it's definitely on my list for a call spread maybe. And yeah, the news is the antitrust investigation. OM, this was an IPO yesterday that I missed, but I like it. I like watching IPOs. So now we're gapping down here. That's worth watching. Let me put that on a thumbnail. Overstock. Now, remember yesterday I had a lot of discussion about the turn, T-U-R-N. Well, this is a sloppy turn. So McGraw, what do you think interests me here on this? Well, we don't have time for guessing. Over yesterday's high, I'd like to do a put spread under all that support. Maybe a condor if it were for Friday, Tehran, short term, over the tail and under the red bar here. That would be my condor strikes. GM is gapping up at the resistance, no pattern. Arrow, this is another shock pattern. It's in a nasty downtrend, gapping up to 40 bucks. If you're short, you got some reckoning to deal with here, but there's no bullish setup for me. Well, we'll keep an eye on it anyway. Oxygen, 13 bucks. Another reckoning here. See, gaps. That's why we love trading the open. We get gaps trades every day. So this is a big bullish gap. Let's just see what it does in 30 minutes. That one we looked at. And Knox, another recent IPO. It might, it got slapped back down to this buy area. Let's see what it does in a couple minutes. JR is asking about STKL. I can't, there's no gap, but I like the breakout yesterday from a multi-month trading range. 50%, a little more than 50% topping tail. So, it has to prove itself, but I'll put it on the list, STKL. RHP over yesterday's high would be fine. Yeah, Scott, that's fine. You got a big old price void. On Microsoft, Microsoft I had in my list here. They were raising their dividends. 210.47, maybe day trade. Yeah, I mean, day trade, there's a price void up here to the yeah, I like it as a day trade over maybe 15-minute high, and I'm just arbitrarily throwing that out. Since the pre-market here, we're drifting down, so I'm not going to be rushing into anything. Yeah, right there was my Microsoft. Hey, do you remember we talked about FedEx earnings? So look, extended all time frames, gapping up huge. You better believe this is on my watch list to short and out of the money call spread. Earnings volatility is going to be high. So pre-market 260, I'll be looking to sell a 260 or higher call spread for Friday if it sets up. I don't want people saying, oh, Dan on YouTube said to do this. No, I didn't. I said it's on my watch list. All gaps I discuss pre-market are just narrowing down my hit list, but they have to set up before we take action. Yeah, and yeah, we talked in the green room yesterday about buying long, which is long, a straddle or strangle for this very reason, for saying, look, we're making a bet. And I think it was like 450, something like that. We did the math yesterday, buying a at the money straddle. And I think it was Tehran. I said, yeah, you know what? I like it, Tehran. I said, you know, buy one contract, you know, or paper trade it. But I said, this pattern definitely can move more than 450 by Friday. You know, so it worked perfect. Our analysis, right, that's how you profit on those. You need the bigger gain on the winning side than the loss on the losing side. Exactly. And then as active traders, Tehran, we could leg out of the winning and losing side to increase the gains, right? So let's say it were to take out a 5-minute low, you sell the call and then trail 5-minute bars highs on the put side. Yeah. All right, Adobe here. Adobe had earnings, but it's just slopping around right here. Hey, yeah, Kodak, Janet, I didn't know what you were asking, but yeah, we have a covered call and also short put. And they were in the news about the investigation, I guess, coming out clean, whatever. I didn't read the article. And then they also, I think, got another loan from the government. Yeah, so we're capping our gains, but nothing we can do about it. I already sent out a text saying just let them have it at the short strike. But I'm not adverse to selling another put for next week. Let me check. Let me check next week. Kodak. Whenever I hear the word Kodak, my brain fills in the word black. Does anyone know why? Anyone who likes music or lives in South Florida? Yeah, they stupid puts 0 by $5. The market maker just is not interested in doing business. No, Kodak Black is his street name or whatever you call it, screen name, street name, stage name. That's it, stage name. He's a rapper, and he's always getting a